About 2 years ago, Instagram got rid of the chronological feed and went the route of the algorithm. And there was a lot of pushback on that, but it doesn't look like it's coming back. It doesn't look like the chronological feed is coming back. It looks like it's here to stay. And so what exactly is the algorithm? There's been a lot of, like I say, not everybody knows. They haven't really been very direct about what's in the algorithm. Facebook have been somewhat helpful in terms of allowing us to know what some of the trigger points are in terms of their algorithm. For example, they prioritize friends and family over businesses and brands, and so that's something that we understand when we're looking at Facebook and when we're creating content for Facebook. Instagram, on the other hand, they've been quite tight-lipped about it, but recently they gave away some of those triggers that they're using to determine how our content is prioritized and how it lives on their platforms. But I always like to start, on all my lives, I always like to start about why should you care about any of these topics. So for this one, why should you care about the Instagram algorithm? Well, if you're a publisher, if you're a content creator, if you're a brand, if you want to have your presence out there on Instagram, then and to be honest, if you haven't been living under a rock, then you'll know that understanding the algorithm and understanding what goes into the algorithm is not just beneficial for us in terms of determining it's not just in terms of determining how we produce our content, but it's also around how we distribute that content. And so if we look at like producing that content, for example, so on Facebook, like I was saying, we know that live video is prioritized. So that helps us to determine what our content strategy looks like. And we always talk about this concept of derivative content strategy. And for us, live is always makes up the most of that derivative content strategy, because we understand that the algorithm on Facebook is prioritizing live video. So on Instagram, it's equally as important to understand what goes into the algorithm so we can understand what our distribution looks like, and more importantly, how we produce videos for that specific platform. Okay, so let's get into it. What's in the Instagram algorithm? So there's kind of 6 things, and I want to say there's 3 primary things and 3 secondary things. Hi, Mohammed and Damilola. Thanks for joining from Algeria and from Lagos, Nigeria. Awesome. Okay, so there's 3 primary and there's 3 secondary things. The 3 primary things are, it starts off with number 1, interest. So this is basically based on your past interactions. So how much Instagram predicts you'll care about a post based on what you've looked at before, based on what they think matters to you. The second thing is recency. So how new the post is. Obviously, they're going to prioritize posts that are newer than posts that are from a long time ago. Hey, Sachin, how are you? Wow, I haven't spoken to you in so long. It's good to see you on my Facebook Live. Yeah, so interest, recency. So they obviously rank higher posts that were just posted, or posts that are posted more recently. And the third thing is relationships. So relationships is really about engagement. So how you are interacting with different accounts. That means comments, taggings, likes. It's basically just engagement. So how close you are to the person who shared it. So it'll obviously posts from people that you engage with often, posts with people that you are constantly liking or commenting on their posts. Obviously, Facebook is then going to prioritize those higher. So those are the 3 kind of primary ones. So they are interest, recency, and relationships. The secondary ones are, so the primary ones are the immediate triggers. The secondary ones are what they look at after the primary. So the secondary one is, the first one is frequency. So how often do you open your Instagram? So so what the algorithm is going to do is it's going to want to show you the best posts since your last visit. So basically what they think you've missed out on. So frequency, so how often you open your Instagram. The second one is following. So this is totally dependent on how many people you follow. So if you follow lots of people, then Instagram will be basically picking from a wider range of people for you to watch. And so you might see less of one particular person's posts. If you follow less people, then obviously the frequency of those posts, because you're following less people, you'll see the same people more often. So that's following. And the third one is usage. So how long you spend on Instagram determines if you're just seeing the best posts or if it's digging deeper into the feed. So if you spend more total time browsing. So frequency, following, and usage. And it's really important to, if you're just joining us, we're talking about Instagram algorithms and the importance of understanding what goes into the algorithm, because it not only determines our distribution methods, but it also helps us to understand the types of content that we should be producing. So as a video producer, so I want to know, we #OurStories, we produce only video. So we're a big video producer. So I want to know how video plays a role in this algorithm, right? On Facebook, I know that video is prioritized over other types of posts, so it works for me. But does that work for me on Instagram? So according to what Instagram has said as of late, is that the feed ranking doesn't favor video over photo, but it's basically what you see in your feed is based on the types of content that you engage with. So for example, I engage mostly with video content, so I'm going to see lots of video content on my feed. But if you are a person that engages with photo content, then you're going to see more photo content on your feed. So it's really about understanding your audience, understanding the types of formats that they're consuming, whether they're consuming video or whether they're consuming pictures or text. So again, it's unlike Facebook where video is prioritized over photo. According to Instagram, it's based on the types of content that you engage with more. The other thing that Instagram have said is that, and these are the types of things that they say they don't do. So the first 6 things were what they've said they do, and now I'm going into the things that they say they don't do. So the other thing they say is that they don't favor users who use stories, live, or other special features on the app. So me as a content creator, what they're saying is they're not prioritizing me because I use live more. Like, they're not prioritizing my feed because I use live more. They're not prioritizing my feed because I use Instagram stories more. And remember, this is different to the way that the circles at the top of your timeline are prioritized. This is your actual Instagram feed. And so they're saying that it's not based on how many stories in your stories section you're telling or how many live stories you're doing. So it's purely based on those 6 things that we just mentioned. And then it also says that it doesn't give special preference or extra feed presence to personal accounts over business accounts, or the other way around. So unlike Facebook, so Facebook have been very blatant, and they've come out and said that they prioritize people over brands or pages. So they want the timeline to really be about your friends and family. What Instagram is saying is something different. They're saying that they're not prioritizing whether you are like a business page or whether you are a personal page. So there's no point in, if you are a personal page, changing to business or business changing into a personal, because that's not the way they're prioritizing. Obviously, we know algorithms change basically on a daily basis, and they change very often, and so we have to be really nimble and we have to be really quick to change with these algorithms, and to make sure that our content is, the quality of our content is so good that the algorithms are not going to affect us that much. And that really comes from really understanding who your audience is, the types of content that they like to watch, and whatever you do, that type of content, because Instagram is based on engagement, that type of content will always be prioritized on those people's feeds. So what the challenge for Instagram is that it's the same kind of thing as Facebook, where the more people join Instagram, the more cluttered the feed gets. And so it's kind of a fight to the top, because you're posting content and you want to be prioritized, but there's just so much content to like fend off. And so the average post will kind of get drowned out and receive fewer views. But for me, this is where the stories format really comes in, because what Instagram will then do is they'll push excess content onto the stories format. And that's why we have to be really cognizant of our presence on stories and on how we're using the stories format on Instagram and also on Snapchat and Facebook and all of these sort of platforms, because the news feeds are getting so cluttered, because they're getting so cluttered, they're going to push people towards the stories format, which is a much more engaging format for people to watch, and it's almost more instantaneous and real and raw. And if you saw this week, Facebook just announced that their stories format will now actually have like a trimming function, which means that now it's actually a video editor. I can go and put video in, and I can trim, and I can add text, I can add images over my video, I can add emojis, I can add bitmojis, I can add all of these layers of information. And for me, what this algorithm is really saying, and something that we really need to be cognizant of, is that the stories format is really becoming something that we really need to take seriously. So yeah, I guess that is kind of what we know about the Instagram algorithm. It's still they're still quite tight on what goes into the algorithm, but the more we know about it and the more we find out about it, the better we can produce our content. So yeah, if you're just joining us, I'm talking about the Instagram algorithm and what it means for publishers, what it means for content creators, and how we can better understand it so that we can create better content and reach our audiences in the ways that is engaging to them. If you have any questions about the Instagram algorithm, please put it in the comment section. Thank you guys so much for watching.